It is Locked On NBA Game Night for the night of Tuesday, January 14th. Coming up, the Cavaliers get even after losing on Sunday, but the Pacers have to feel good about where they're at. Tony East fills us in on what's brewing in Indiana. Plus, Jamal Murray may finally be rounding into form, and that could change everything for the Denver Nuggets. Let's jump in.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night in 30 minutes. Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen every day. Got a great show for you today. The Nuggets demolish the Mavericks, and Giannis can't be ruled out of the MVP race. But we're going to start in Indiana, where the Cavaliers beat the Pacers 127-117 to split the series after losing to Indiana on Sunday. Donovan Mitchell, 35 points. Evan Mobley took over in the third quarter with 13 points in that period. Important to note that Tyrese Haliburton missed this one as he nurses that hamstring. But Tony, you're the host of Locked On Pacers. You were there for the game. You've watched both of these games closely. I want to talk about both teams. We'll talk about the Cavaliers here in a second, but I imagine the Pacers have to be pretty happy with their performance against the East top seed in these last couple of games.
Definitely to only have Haliburton for one half and to still split them is thumbs up. They'll take that result. I mean, I think they would have taken a split if he played all 8 quarters, right? So I think they were happy with that result to win in Cleveland. And tonight they played fine on offense, but they hit a Cavalanche in the third quarter, and you know it's tough to overcome that. And Mitchell was awesome. Yeah, they have to feel they're playing great.
That we say, or is that just a thing that you say?
No, I've seen it. It's a thing.
Oh, okay.
I did not come up with that.
All right. It's very good.
I would love to take credit for something I didn't come up with. That's how the internet works, but no, I did not come up with that. Yeah, it was a close game mid-third, and then the Cavs is the perfect storm of how the Pacers lose sometimes, where the Cavs can score whenever they want, and then they set up in a zone, and the Pacers really struggle against zone at times this season. So then they get a stop, and then they can score really easily, and then it just keeps going and going and going. And the rest of the game was pretty even, 10-point Cavs win, but yeah, I think the Cavs are probably not thrilled with how they're playing, honestly. Like, their 3 games since that OKC win have been tight win against the Pacers, extremely tight, need Darius Garland heroics win over the Raptors and a loss. So I think they need something to get a kick in the pants. They've got some big games coming up next week because Pacers are playing good. This was their first loss in 2025. They have the second most wins in the league since December 9th, which is a random date, but that's, when their last loss was. Yeah, both teams are playing fine to good. This game was really fun, though, and Donovan Mitchell was just terrific. When he plays like that, the Cavs are tough to beat.
No question about it. Let's get the Cavs angle from Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs.
Cunningham here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis after the Cavs beat the Pacers 127-117. Let's talk about this one for 94 feet. Donovan Mitchell came right out of the gate on fire. Finished with 19 of his game-high 35 points in the first quarter. It's just the third time Donovan has had 30 or more points in a game since December 1st. So he really hasn't had to be the type of scorer that we are accustomed to seeing him be. But I do think that Tuesday night was a really nice reminder of exactly what he's capable of, where the Cavs needed this type of spark coming off of Sunday's loss, this very same Pacers team. And I thought Donovan provided that early and provided that often in this one. This was a game where afterwards the Cavs talked about Sunday being a little bit of a wake-up call, where they lost that game. They certainly lost focus in the third quarter. And the third quarter on Tuesday night was pretty much the opposite, where in this game, they outscored the Pacers. They really took it to the Pacers defensively. They hit open shots. They looked much more like the Cleveland Cavaliers team that we have become accustomed to seeing so far this year. Now, the Cavs are continuing this road trip. They're in OKC on Thursday. They have a big matchup. We'll see if they can sweep OKC after winning the game of the year last week. We'll see if this one can live up to the hype as well.
It's a funny thing how the MVP award works, Tony. I don't know that Donovan Mitchell has ever been more valuable to his team by kind of taking that step back that he has. But as Danny mentions there, 19 points in the first quarter. He got a sense that, this is when, as he's choosing his spots this year, this was a spot for him to be more aggressive. His stats aren't what his stats had been in the past, but there's no question he's a higher ceiling raiser, a higher floor raiser for this Cavaliers team. And he's I don't know. It's weird, but I don't know that he's going to be on any MVP ballots because the counting stats aren't there. But he's qualitatively just a better player, a more impactful player playing this kind of role.
Yeah, I agree. Very rude of Danny to film that after I left. I would have liked to film him walking down the court, talking to himself on his phone. It would have been quite funny. The thing with Mitchell is like, I mean, I think if you just lined up like at their best, who's the best Cavs player? It's Mitchell. Like that's what happened tonight. He had that 2 dribbles to his right, swing move in the lane, left hand layup like 4 or 5 times. Like he just looked unstoppable. On the season, I think Evan Mobley's been their best player. And I don't mean that to disparage Mitchell because part of what's made the Cavs great is he has been willing to take that step back in role in minutes to let Mitchell and Garland and Allen be really good and touch the ball and play the way the Cavs have played to have this absurd offensive rating, right? So credit to Donovan Mitchell for doing that. He's never had to do that before. Every other team he's been on, it's been like, yeah, you go crazy, dude. Like score 30 a night if that's what it takes for us to win. And tonight was one of those nights, right, where the Pacers did pretty good shutting off the rim against the same team 2 nights earlier. Donovan Mitchell said, okay, screw that. Like, I know I can beat these guys. And he did it. And that's why he is the air quotes best player on the team, even though like by total season impact, I probably wouldn't rank him first. But I mean, he can do that kind of thing. And that's why he draws the Andrew Nembhard assignment, right? He gets the best defender every night because he's capable of that, even though necessarily his day-to-day impact doesn't always look like this.
Let's go to Atlanta where the Hawks beat the Suns 122-117. Here's Brad Rowland from Locked On Hawks with more.
Friends, my name is Brad Rowland. The Atlanta Hawks pick up a very nice victory at home on this Tuesday, 122-117 at the hands of the Phoenix Suns. And the Hawks were not supposed to win this game. The underdogs, they were coming into this one shorthanded. No Jalen Johnson, and DeAndre Hunter was scratched late right before this game started. But Trae Young was awesome in this one, 43 points to lead all scorers, and then a monster game from the Hawks supporting cast. Onyeka Okongwu with 22 points and a career-high 21 rebounds, and then a combined 34 points from Vit Krejci and Garrison Matthews, both of whom closed this game for Atlanta on the wings. It was not the way it was probably drawn up for Atlanta, but they had 17 threes, played great offense, and were able to hold on for dear life, withstanding a 31-point game for Kevin Durant, 35 for Devin Booker, but in the end, it was the Hawks offense making plays, and the Hawks made a bunch of big shots down the stretch, and honestly stole this one at home. So with this win, they're 20-19, a lot of good vibes as they head up to Chicago for the game on Wednesday. We'll get into all of what transpired and more on the Hawks podcast.
66 combined points for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Didn't matter like it hasn't mattered for so much of Phoenix's season. They've lost 6 of the last 10 games. They're 11th in the Western Conference. They got destroyed on the boards in this game. 20 offensive rebounds for the Atlanta Hawks in this game. 20 offensive rebounds. That's insane. Big ones down the stretch from Onyeka Okongwu. That led to a Garrison Matthews 3-pointer that kind of served as the dagger in this game. The Suns are a mess. Is there anything that they can do to fix this thing?
Are the Suns good at anything? Like, I don't even know how to really describe it, but just like Booker's awesome. Great. That's a bunch of points. Kevin Durant's awesome. Great. That's a bunch of points. What are they good at as a team? They're not a great rebounding team. Their offense is just like back end of the top 10. They're definitely not a good defensive team. Their centers stink. Bradley Beal scored 11 points and got hurt tonight. Like, what am I going to get if I'm playing the Suns and I'm an opponent? I'm like, okay, they might score like 115 points and stink at everything else. Okay, this is not going to be that hard to beat, and that's why they're losing a lot. The idea that table setters would help this team always felt like a farce to me. The idea that Yusuf Nurkic was the right center felt like a farce to me. They need like either really good defenders or actual two-way players at any position, and they need hub kind of centers, and they have none of these things. And so they're really relying on good shot making. And to be clear, they're a decent team because they have that. But that's why games like this can happen where their stars look awesome and they still lose because they don't have a thing. Like, for lack of a better term, they don't have a thing that they can hang their hat on any given night. It's just kind of sad to me that this is what their season has become, because I love watching these guys, but they just don't have a way to beat anybody consistently.
This team, in order to win, has to be the number 1 offense in the league to like be where they thought they were going to be. And they're, like you said, the back end of the top 10 in offensive rating, which is fine, but not nearly good enough. That's not elite. That's good. And they need to be the elite of the elite. And they're clearly not that. This is the difference between having a bunch of hoopers on your team and a basketball team with basketball players playing a basketball game as a team. And this is, unfortunately, the issue that Kevin Durant's teams since leaving Golden State kind of keep running into, whether it's Brooklyn or Phoenix. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of cool to have a bunch of hoopers on your team, but at some point there needs to be structure and strategy and a way to actually go about winning some of these basketball games. Speaking of, Nikola Jokic is putting together another MVP caliber season. Russell Westbrook has been a great addition.
Let me gas up Onyeka Okongwu for the coolest triple-double ever. 22 points, 10 offensive rebounds, 11 defensive rebounds. That's got to count for something. 10 on both ends? Come on.
Get the air horn for that.
That deserves an air horn. Please do your awesome transition that I just totally ruined. You are a pro and I am not.
There's a secret to Denver's success. We're going to talk about it next here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by our friends at Hungry Root. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time between work life and trying to eat healthier. I was constantly feeling stressed out. I go to the grocery store, I buy things I didn't need, then I end up with no time to actually cook. And sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle to do. Throw that out the window. But everything changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, game changer, guys. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungry Root, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my tastes and my health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver, and it's made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. I know it. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Game Night every game, every night your first listen. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Let's go to Dallas, where the Nuggets smacked the Mavericks, 118-99. No Luka Doncic for the Mavericks, but Kyrie Irving came back, looked a little bit rusty. Derek Lively rolled his ankle in the first half, didn't return to the game, so that's something to monitor over the next couple of games, or a couple of days, rather. The Nuggets went up 71-45 in the first half. And that was with Nikola Jokic scoring just 5 points, because Jamal Murray had 32 in the first half alone. He finished with 45. Shaq said during the TNT halftime show that Denver's success starts with Jamal Murray. When that message was relayed to him after the game, he said he 100% agrees. So, Tony, my question to you is, do you 100% agree?
No, I kind of 0% agree. There's absolutely no shade at Jamal Murray. He's very good. And I think that ball handling is probably the most important thing for a team to have a good floor. No, it's Jokic. I mean, come on. They happened. This, like, what I was going to describe this game as is like two experiments. On one hand, the experiment for the Mavs was, can we win a game without anybody scoring 14 points? The answer is unequivocally no. On the Nuggets side, the answer is, hey, what if we give Nikola Jokic a good teammate for once? And to be clear, the Nuggets have good players who help them win, but just very rarely do they get oh man, that guy was awesome this year. Russell Westbrook is very routinely the guy who exceeds expectations by the most. So Murray doing this and reminding everybody he was him at times in postseason series and during regular seasons. Oh yeah, they're really good when this happens. They don't need Jokic to have insane, holy smokes, triple-double, making every 3-level stats to win. And he was awesome in this game, right? And in this specific game, that point about Murray is correct. I mean, he's not the guider of this team's success, but he's really good. And when he has the ball as much as he does, and he takes 26 shots and no one else takes more than 11, turns out, yes, he is the driver of their success in that specific game. But if he can play like this every night, that'd be great for Denver, because they need someone else who can do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm going to debate the semantics of this, which I don't know is all that interesting here. But Shaq saying that their success begins with Jamal Murray is 0% correct, right?
Yeah.
No, their success starts with Nikola Jokic. He's the thing that the entire Nuggets universe, orbits around. But maybe their success ends with Jamal Murray, right? Where he's sort of the finisher. He's the ceiling raiser. With Jokic playing at MVP level, this team is going to be a top 6 seed in the Western Conference pretty much every year. They're a regular season wins machine. They're able to churn these things out, even with some of the depletion in the talent around Nikola Jokic over these last couple of years. But for them to reach where it is that they want to go, Jamal Murray was sensational in the 2023 finals. That was a big reason why they beat the Heat in those 2023 finals. But Jokic was the reason that they were there and got them there, and he was also sensational in those finals as well, and was the MVP for a reason. But they need this Jamal Murray. And as awesome as Russell Westbrook has been, and that's been a hot topic around the NBA lately as well, Russell Westbrook, he's really good. And he's kind of had this career renaissance with Denver. Denver is 14-4 with Russell Westbrook as a starter. So a little side quest that they got to figure out in terms of what are they going to do with that? Aaron Gordon came off the bench again in this one as they manage his return from that calf injury and all of that. But they need Jamal Murray to be closer to this. Doesn't have to be 45 points every single night, but like the tough shot making that he had in this game where he didn't even need Jokic on a lot of these plays, right? Like he would take a Jokic screen, got to get 2 feet in the paint and make a tough jumper in there, get to the rim for layups, things like that. They need more of that from Jamal Murray. And then to Murray's credit, after the game, he said, like, I haven't been very good this season. I was good tonight. We need more of this going forward. And if they're getting this Jamal Murray, then I think we can reconsider Denver's championship viability, because right now it feels like they're sort of on the outer circle of contenders. But if they get this Murray combined with this Westbrook, with a healthy team, with this Jokic, yeah, of course they're back into the inner circle of contenders. But let's go to a fun one in Chicago. Pelicans beat
Hold on. Sorry. I'm going to keep ruining your life as the very good professional host today. When is Luka coming back? The Mavs are 2 games ahead of 10th right now.
I know.
And are not playing well. And Kyrie missed a lot of time too. I understand why the Mavs record is what it is. No one is complaining that they're losing these games without Kyrie and Luka. I mean, they need him back like now. Not because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They're good enough. The West is tight, man. Like, they are slipping. Kyrie goes 4 for 18 tonight. I get it was his first game back, but I don't think people realize, like, they need Luka back pretty soon, or they're at risk of, like, oh crap, we're playing who? I don't know. I think that's a bigger story than people are leading on.
Jared Greenberg from TNT reported today that there's optimism in Dallas that he could be back before the All-Star break, but we were originally told like maybe the end of January, so I don't know how. Right, exactly. So this is a problem. Like right now, Dallas is at risk of falling into the play-in tournament, and once you're there, anything can happen in the Western or either of the conferences, because both of them have a play-in tournament. Chicago Pelicans beat the Bulls 119-113. Been a tough season for New Orleans, but they're starting to play better. Zion Williamson is back. He looked good in this one. 21 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds for him. He blocked a 3-pointer, which was really impressive. Here's Jake Madison from Locked On Pelicans with more.
When Zion Williamson plays, the Pelicans look like an entirely different team. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. Pels beat the Bulls 119-113 despite trying to lose it at the end. But winning is different for New Orleans, and Zion Williamson was the catalyst. 21 points on 10 of 14 shooting, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. The team is competitive and borderline good when he plays, despite Brain and Ingram still being out. It's why, despite all the stuff surrounding him, this team still probably needs to keep building around Zion. And don't discount Trey Murphy's leap either. He finished with 32 points on the night on just 20 shot attempts. His jump to being a multi-dimensional scorer has been a big bright spot in an otherwise lost season. I'll have more over the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
So New Orleans currently has the worst record in the Western Conference. I would bet by the end of the season, they won't have the worst record in the Western Conference. But my question to you, Tony, is should they want to have the worst record in the Western Conference, regardless of some of the improvements that they've made with Zion coming back?
Yeah, I think third worst in the league, right? Only ahead of our good friends, the Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets, right? Like, they're bad. And like the Mavs, like I just said, everybody knows why they're bad. Okay, it's like fine. It stinks that your season's this way. It's fine. But I agree. I keep wondering this. Like, it's very good that Zion is back and playing well. And I think Jake nailed a very big thing for them. Like, oh, Trey Murphy can dribble and do, like, wow, that's scary for other teams. Okay, that's all great. Like, that's the point of these kind of lost seasons, is to find these little skills in your players that help you in future seasons when you're going to be good again. This should not be a season they want to be good again. They're halfway through and they have 9 wins, right? Like, if they go 30-11 the second half of the season, they'll still have a losing record and probably not make the play-in in the West. What do they want to happen now? And I get that it's really hard when you have a lot of good players and your goal is to be good, to just like rip the cord out. Who are they supposed to play instead? But yeah, it's kind of goofy. Like, they've been so hurt that they shouldn't want to win, but they have all these players they should want to play at the same time. They have a really funky trade deadline coming up to me. It's good that they're playing good around Zion. I think Jake's right. They got to build around him, but they're in a very tricky spot. Like they kind of too many good players to just suck, but they need to suck. It's weird.
Yeah, you're right. I know you're right, and yet I'm going to disagree with you. I go ahead and win. Go ahead and win a bunch of games because it felt so like precarious there for a really long time. Literally talking about, do we just cut Zion? Not even trade him. Do we just waive him with this weird like sort of contract? The fact that you're starting to get some footing here, I do think, even though they were pretty good last year before Zion got hurt in the play-in tournament, this team still is in some need of proof of concept, regardless of some of their past success. And if you just sort of slide your way into like a number 1, 2, or 3 pick, that's fine. I know it's better. Like if you end up like kind of lucking out and getting Cooper Flag and pairing him with Zion, like obviously that probably raises this team's ceiling. And yet I can't really get there. Again, I know you're right, but I just feel like this team also sort of needs to win games just for vibes. And I know that vibes isn't the most analytic or scientific measurement, but I think that the vibes were low and they need to get higher in New Orleans. But that'll do it for our conversation on the Pelicans, unless you want to interrupt my segue here. Giannis is as unstoppable as ever. So why has his name faded from the MVP conversation? It shouldn't have been. He might be working on another push. We'll talk about that and the mystery of the 76ers bench after this here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by our friends at Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and my budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate. I found everything that I needed in no time. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget. I recently moved a couple of months ago, found a bunch of great stuff on Wayfair, including rugs, a desk. We found some stuff for the living room. It was great. The delivery was seamless. Everything came in on time, looked great, and we're very happy with our apartment. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Game Night every game, every night your first listen. We're going to Milwaukee, where the Bucks beat the Kings 130-115. This game felt over after the Bucks scored 47 points in the first quarter. Sacramento had no answer for Giannis or Dame. Giannis with 33 points, 13 assists, and 11 rebounds, posting his 50th career triple-double. The Bucks end Sacramento's 7-game winning streak. And Tony, I feel like Giannis was getting a lot of MVP buzz after the NBA Cup win, but that sort of subsided. He missed 4 games after that with an injury. Now Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP favorite. Jokic is still part of this conversation in a big way. This is what I'm predicting. All season long, I think this is going to be quite literally like an MVP race where some of the one player is about a nose ahead from the other one. And I think it's pretty much a 3-man race between Giannis, SGA, and Jokic. But I am predicting another week of Giannis MVP talk in the near future, especially if they go on a winning streak here. They win this game, and then here's their next 5 games. Orlando, Toronto, Philly, New Orleans, Miami. All very winnable games. If the Bucks kind of sweep those teams, go on a 6-game win streak, or even if they're like 5-1 during that stretch, and Giannis is still posting triple-double-ish kind of numbers and 30-plus points per game, basically what he's been doing all year, we will have another sort of moment where, the national media is sort of talking, Giannis MVP? Like, should he be the favorite again? It's been an interesting race so far this season.
It has. It's like those little goofy things they play during NBA games where it's like 3 cans of soda racing, and they all represent a section, and it's like scripted, so like one of them leads it all the time, so everybody's cheering. It's like that, right? That's what this race has kind of been. Someone different leading all the time. I still feel like for a lot of the season, it's been like Jokic's stats are so freaking good that everybody's like, yeah, he should be first. And Shai is the other really good player whose team is the best. It's like, maybe he should be first. And then Giannis is like, hey, I'm also pretty close to triple-double, and I'm way better on defense than both those guys, right? And at some point, the defense gap has to factor into this conversation, and the Bucks just haven't quite, I think, bagged enough wins for him to really sneak up to the top of this. But, yeah, he always has nights like this where you're like, oh, yeah, there's like nothing you can do about him when he's playing his best. Plus 30. Are you kidding? Plus 30. They won the game by 15. They lose by 15 with him not out there, and he played 37 minutes. Like, he's a beast, man. And if he's hitting his mid-range shots, he's just unstoppable. And he calls himself a pass first forward. I don't believe him, but he says it. 13 assists in this game. He's awesome. And I certainly agree with you that he's going to sneak back into these conversations, especially if they narrow that record gap with the Thunder and get rid of the whole best team, best player thing I just said. Not get rid of, but make it smaller.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, when I think about the MVP race, I often just think like, most valuable, best team on the best player on best team. I just think who's had the best season, and I just sort of like this. That's how I kind of give the award. Like, who's just having the best season, and Giannis is right there with these other guys, regardless of the Thunder being the number 1 seed in the West and whatever we think about Denver, and if we do think that they're going to go on a run here, he's got as much of a chance as anybody. We're going to go to Philadelphia. The Thunder beat the quote-unquote 76ers 118-102. Here was Philly's starting lineup for this game. Reggie Jackson, Eric Gordon, Ricky Council, Kelly Oubre, and Gershon Yabusele. Tony, I'm going to give you who played off the bench, but I'm going to make up one of the names. And you got to tell me, don't look at the box score.
Okay,
you got to tell me which name I made up, okay?
I think I know the roster pretty well. I think that's right.
Jeff Doughton, Justin Edwards, Adam Bona, KJ McDaniels, Pete Nance.
Those are all real players who have played for the 76ers. Unfortunately, KJ McDaniels is no longer in the NBA, but that is pretty good. There's 2 other McDaniels in the NBA. Actually, is Jalen McDaniels? Jaden is the good one, right? Jalen's on the NBA. That's good, though, yes. I saw at one point just via a tweet that Justin Edwards was hooping. So I knew he played and he's real. I don't know the rest of them, like what they're good at.
Justin Edwards played 35 minutes off the bench, led the team with 25 points. He was hooping. Speaking of hooping, ironically so, we're going to wrap up the night. Brooklyn, Portland, the Nets beat the Nets beat the Blazers 132-114. Cam Johnson with 24 points for the Nets. Keon Johnson and Noah Clowney for 40 points. We could have done the same game with the Brooklyn Nets roster, honestly, but they get 7 guys in double digits in the win. But Scoot Henderson, 39 points on 18 shots, 72% field goal percentage for this game as a starter. I still don't understand why the Portland Trail Blazers continue to bring Scoot Henderson off the bench. They start him with some injuries that they've been dealing with and stuff like that. They go ahead and start him in this game, and he balls out. They lose, but it feels like Portland's season is going nowhere, and they should just be doing this with Scoot Henderson. Like, he should be a permanent starter, and they should be trying to figure out, okay, is this guy a guy for us or not?
Yeah, Scoot and Shaden, sharp. Start them every game. Duh, right? Duh. Get the clinging, too. Right. Who cares about Ayton at this point, right? Like, play your young guys. Lose some games, man. Like, figure it out. I still have such high hopes for Scoot. I loved him in that draft, and that has clearly gotten me nowhere. But these kind of games make me go, hey, remember that guy who's just as good as Wemby in that random Ignite versus Metropolitans game that one time that everybody was going crazy? Like, he was amazing. He was amazing in the G League, and he hasn't been that guy in the NBA. So I still have some belief that his speed and eventually shooting will make him something. And this kind of game's like, oh, yeah, he can. When he create the space and get him up, he can make it happen. Wes, is this the game that makes it happen? Because here's the thing that's happened to the Nets this year. Oh, Dennis Schroeder's playing too good. We're winning too many games. See ya. Uh-oh, Dorian Finney-Smith's playing a little too good. We've won too many games. See ya. Uh-oh, Cam Johnson just went crazy. We won a game against another tanking team. Is Cam Johnson going to be traded in the next couple of days? The Nets can't afford these.
That's a great point. Cam Johnson played really well in this game, and even he wasn't even making a bunch of threes, but he made a bunch of twos in this game, showing a little bit more versatility. And yeah, it feels like both of these teams need to lose as many games as possible. The weird thing about Brooklyn is I don't know what the point of this season is other than just having gotten their draft picks back right before the year and then losing a bunch of games. Like, I don't know how many of these guys are actually going to factor into their future plans. Whereas Portland, this whole season is about figuring out which one of, like, there's a lot of talent on this roster, right? Like, there's a lot of guys that you like. It hasn't come together in terms of, material wins here. But this season for Portland is you watch these games and you're like, all right, which one of these guys are going to be part of the future and which of these guys are we maybe move off of. So no Denny Avdia on this one, no Jeremy Grant in this one. That's why, in part, Scoot Henderson ends up getting the start here. But this is the guy. This is your number 3 pick. You got to play him, regardless of his fit with Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons. I know it's clunky, but to me, I don't know why losing teams ever care about fit. Like, fit is a luxury reserved for teams that are winning. Right now, you're just sort of in the talent figuring it out part of it. Like, okay, who's good enough to worry about finding players who fit with them? Like, you got to figure that part out first before you start worrying about fit. It's ridiculous to talk about fit if you know you're going to be losing a bunch of games already. Who cares? Anyway, that wraps up Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.